Hey, listen, people and peopleettes. So there's been some rumors going around that we might be getting a Zelda remake or remaster, and with the Game Awards coming up this week, I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. Of course, this rumor started actually about a month ago now, I think, and it all started from a tweet that happened on the interweb. It's actually a tweet that I don't believe you can find anymore, and I may butcher this name, but I believe it's by Sircon Toto. Basically, it just says ZR 2023, and the reason this has caused a lot of stir is because he kind of did a similar thing to announce when the release of Tears of the Kingdom was, which ended up being delayed, but that's kind of where all of this started. Real quick, I want to give the definition of remaster and remake, and I'm going to say remaster and remake because the post just said ZR 2023, and everybody's saying that means like Zelda Remake 2023. I think that R can also be remaster, but whatever. A remaster is when you take a game and just improve the graphics. Like basically everything stays the same. There might be a few minor improvements elsewhere, but it's mostly just graphical and making it look more modern. And a remake is kind of like you just keep the main story there, you keep kind of the staple there, but like it gets more changes than what a remaster would, beyond just graphical. But I wanted to talk about what games I thought would be a possibility to be there, and so that's what we're doing. So first of all, I think the most likely game to get a remake is Ocarina of Time. Now, I think it's the most obvious. It's got one of the most captivating stories in all of the series, and is one of those, I guess you could just call it a milestone game. It's not just a Zelda that a lot of Zelda fans and Nintendo fans like. It was a game that really shook the gaming industry, similar to how Breath of the Wild attracted a lot of attention of people beyond Nintendo and Zelda fans. Not only that, but it still to this day has a Metacritic score of 99, which is actually very impressive. It was also the Zelda franchise's first 3D game, and of course after the years have passed since 1998, the graphics are a little dated. Now of course we've had some remasters and some updated graphics here and there, but I think it's time to kind of flush out this story a little bit more. I love the story. It's actually, I still think, one of the best in the series, but I think they could do a lot more with it now. Things that they couldn't do back then. Not change the story, but give us more details. Like, let us sink our teeth into it a little bit more and make the game without the limitations that they had back then. They could give us a little bit more of a backstory to Ganondorf, maybe help us uncover some of the mysteries of the Kokiri people in the Kokiri Forest, because they're a very mysterious people in place. Maybe they could dive a little bit deeper into Link's origin story, how he ended up in the Deku Forest with his parents and his mother and even his father this time around. And we've got a million theories that have happened since this game came out in 1998, and I would love to see some of these theories proven or disproven after this 25-year gap, but also give us more mysteries to try to solve. I mean, Zelda team seems to be really good at that. Anytime that they ever give us an answer to one of the theories that we've had, they replace it with 3 more questions. I think it'd also be really cool to see the Ocarina of Time cities and people redesigned and reimagined. I still think that the essence of the people and the places should stay very similar, but maybe they could give the side characters a little bit more individuality. You know, maybe not make every Zora look exactly the same, and I think that they could also add a little bit more to the cities. Now, don't just like create space to create space, but give us more characters to interact with and more side quests to do in the cities. Now, for example, if they expand Hyrule Field, that's cool, but I don't know, put someone in it? Put something in it, put some treasure chests, some secrets deep underground or in some of those holes. I mean, that happened a couple times in the field, but just don't make it bigger for the sake of being bigger is what I'm saying. Also, if this remake happens and Zora's Domain is still an ice block after the water temple, I am going to call somebody. I don't know who, but someone's going to hear me complain about it, probably my wife, who doesn't give a crap. But someone's going to hear about it, okay? I also want to say that I don't think that this game in particular would get a remaster. I kind of think that it's just kind of time to do a remake if they go any direction with this game. Now, that being said, I think it's the only 3D game that we could see a remake of. I just don't really think any of the others are going to happen. I don't think Majora's Mask is going to happen because Ocarina of Time always happens before Majora's Mask when they do something like that. And really the others, like, are they going to really try to remake Breath of the Wild right now? I mean, I just think it's the best one out of the 3D games. However, I do think that we could see the OG Zelda or Zelda 2 get a remake. I've not really heard anyone else talk about these two that much. It's just my opinion, and I think they'd be great for it. Zelda 1 is a great game for a remake, and I think that since it was made over 35 years ago, they obviously could do a lot with it now. I don't think they would really change it that much, though. I mean, I could be wrong. They could add a lot to it, but I think it would be a little bit more subtle. I think they'll add more characters, you know, people besides our cave guys who help us along the way here and there. They could add some side quests, and I think that there would also be a little bit more direction because you kind of just go in the cave, get the sword, dude tells you not to go alone, and you just go until you beat the game. There's not a whole lot of direction given in there. Now, I do think that a lot of games, especially Zelda games, hold our hands a little bit too much sometimes, but there was like no direction. But I think it makes a great choice, and I think Zelda 2 makes a great choice. To be honest, I think that Zelda 2 might need a remake more than any other game. It's not a bad game, but I know for me personally, I'll probably never play the original Link's Adventure ever again. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit different than everybody else, but I think out of all 20 games, it is absolutely the most difficult and frustrating game of them all. Plus, I don't think there's enough story there for me to be drawn back in to play it again. I mean, sometimes a game's so dang good, even when it's hard, you go back to it. But for me, even being the big Zelda fan I am, Zelda 2 just doesn't do that for me. But if it got a remake with a little bit more depth and some gameplay changes, I would give it a shot. They'd probably have to do a little bit of the similar treatment that they would with Zelda 1. To be honest, both of those games, because they are so old, even though they're great, and I think a lot of us do love them, if they want to bring in a broader audience, they may have to add way more story than what those two games had. But with Zelda 2, they're also going to have to change the gameplay, I think, and everything, or at least make it somehow easier for people to want to play it, to keep gripping into that story. I really want to like that game more than what I do, but in its current state, well, it is what it is. Now, those are the games that I think could get remakes, and not necessarily the only ones, but I think the ones that are the most likely to. I think Zelda 1 could get remastered, and I think if they go through the trouble of graphically improving it, I think that they will go through the trouble of just kind of doing a whole remake instead of just a remaster. But I could be wrong on that. That's just my opinion on it. And now I want to mention a game that I think is more likely to get a remaster than a remake. Actually, I think they're the most likely to get remastered. And I say they because it's two games, and that's the Oracle games. The Oracle games have such good stories, and they're so much fun to play. Each game has its own little gimmick where you have to change seasons in one, change time in the other, and those changes affect the environment around you. And once you beat one, you get a code that then carries over to the other game. And then once you beat that game, you get this extra final boss that you don't get if you only play one individual game. You need both of the stories to complete the full story. They're intertwined and they're connected, and it makes it fun, and it's a very unique experience to just these two games. I think they're both just really charming games that deserve a remaster out of all of the games that could be remastered in the series. Now, I think there's one possibility of them getting a remake, and that's if they add the third intended game. See, when the games came out, there was supposed to be a third game that also connected to them, and it would be 3 instead of just the 2 games connecting. But I guess due to limitations, hardware, and all that stuff, they weren't able to do the third game. Of course, adding a third game, making it to where you need the third game to complete the story would, I think, warrant calling it a remake, even if the other 2 games stayed very, very similar and were just updated graphics. But we would also get a completely new game. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that it's more likely that we just keep the 2 original games and they just get remastered, but I think it'd be really, really freaking cool just to get to experience, even if a lot of things have changed, because I know they've probably used a lot of assets from that game that they wanted to in other games, but something similar to what they were originally wanting for us to. Plus, I am all about a new Zelda game. Any given point, you know? You can literally put 2 stick figures together, Link and Zelda, you just name them that, and a bigger stick figure named Ganondorf, and I'm sold. I'm good. Yep, okay, I'm buying it. Well, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think any of these games are a likely possibility? Do you even think that we're getting a remake or a remaster? Or are we all just kind of dreaming? I mean, the dude did take down his post, so I mean, it's a possibility that he changed his mind. I mean, I think there's a million possibilities. He got told to take it down, whatever. But just let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you think it could be a different game, let me know. We'll also probably be streaming the Game Awards here on Thursday night, so come join me. You can hang out. I'm just going to be kind of like chilling, watching, and talking, just in case we get some Zelda news. Wouldn't hold my breath because the Game Awards have been kind of shaky over the years, but I still plan on being here for it. But thank you guys. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace and later.